You never leave the moment things get hard. You leave the moment things stop growing you. And deep down, you already feel it. Something in you knows when a connection is slowly poisoning your spirit, even if your heart is still trying to hold on to the best moments that no longer exist. Walking away doesn't mean you stopped loving. It means you finally stopped abandoning yourself. And today, you're going to understand the exact behaviors that signal it's time to let go, not because you're weak, but because you've grown too much to stay. So breathe, listen, and feel what resonates. Your clarity begins now. You can feel when a relationship begins to drain you more than it pours into you. It doesn't happen in one loud moment. It's slow, quiet, almost invisible at first, but your nervous system feels it long before your mind admits it. It starts as tension in your chest, a heaviness you can't explain, a sadness that follows you, even on the days when they're being nice. Because when someone's behavior shifts, your body registers it before they ever say a word. And one of the first signs it's time to walk away is simple but painful. You start defending their behavior more than they defend your heart. You give excuses for them. You explain away the disrespect. You minimize the hurt so you can hold on to the hope. But the truth? Hope without reciprocity is how people lose themselves. You keep telling yourself, they're just stressed. They don't mean it. They'll come back around. But relationships don't collapse from one argument. They collapse from repeated patterns that are ignored because of love. And here's the deeper pain. You begin to shrink, not because you want to, but because you're trying to keep the peace. You soften your tongue. You swallow your needs. You make yourself smaller to avoid triggering their moods. But let me say something clearly. Any love that requires you to dim who you are is not love. It's emotional survival. And surviving is not the same as living. Another behavior that tells you it's time to walk away is when they stop being your safe place. Love is supposed to feel like home, not like walking on broken glass, not like waiting for the next shift in mood, not like constantly wondering what version of them you'll get today. When your peace becomes unpredictable, your heart learns to anticipate danger. Instead of connection, you start watching their tone, their breathing, their silence, their pauses. You study them instead of feeling loved by them. And that exhaustion? It's your soul asking you to let go. Because here's the deepest truth. Love isn't supposed to feel like guessing. It's supposed to feel like knowing. Knowing you're wanted. Knowing you're valued. Knowing you're chosen. You shouldn't have to decode someone to figure out if they care. Care is obvious when it's real. Another behavior that reveals it's time to walk. You're always the one fixing everything. When the relationship hurts, you repair it. When there's a distance, you close it. When there's conflict, you apologize first. When there's silence, you break it. It becomes a cycle where your effort carries the whole connection. But here's the truth you keep avoiding. If it takes one person to keep something alive, it's already dying. You deserve someone who meets you halfway, someone who participates, someone who tries. Trying isn't too much to ask. Trying is the bare minimum. But you've been conditioned to think your needs are too loud, only because you shared them with someone who didn't know how to listen. The next behavior is subtle, but cuts the deepest. They stop showing up for the version of you that is the most real, the emotional you, the vulnerable you, the human you, the you who needs reassurance, support, and softness. They liked you when you were the strong one, the giving one, the one who held everything together. But the moment you needed them to do the same for you, they pulled away. And that's when you realize you weren't in a relationship. You were in a role that served them, a role that benefited them, a role that drained you. And here's the part you haven't admitted yet. You stayed because you believed loving harder might finally make them show up. But love doesn't grow where emotional responsibility is absent. When someone is incapable of meeting you emotionally, you start lowering yourself to match their capacity instead of raising your standards to match your worth. There's another sign too. When your intuition starts whispering louder than their explanations, your intuition notices patterns. Your intuition recognizes inconsistency. Your intuition feels when someone is fading, even if their words insist they're not. You didn't imagine the shift. You didn't misread the distance. You didn't overreact. You sensed the truth. Your heart didn't want to accept. And the truth is simple. Not everyone who loves you knows how to value you. Love is only healthy when behavior supports it. And one of the biggest signs you must walk away is this: you feel lonelier with them than you do by yourself. Loneliness in a relationship is the loudest red flag your spirit can send you. Because when being with someone hurts more than losing them, the relationship has already ended. You're just the last one acknowledging it. But let's go deeper. Another behavior that reveals the end has already begun. You no longer recognize yourself. You used to laugh effortlessly. You used to dream boldly. You used to love fully. Now you're cautious, hesitant, emotionally tired. You've been negotiating with yourself to stay in a space that doesn't honor who you truly are. But walking away isn't abandoning love, it's returning to yourself. And that return is what terrifies people who benefited from your self sacrifice. Because once you rediscover your worth, their control disappears. And that's why these behaviors are so important to acknowledge. They aren't signs, they're boundaries speaking, self respect rising, clarity sharpening. You don't walk away to teach them a lesson. You walk away because you finally learned yours. And that is where your power begins. When someone's behavior starts speaking louder than their promises, you feel it in your chest. Before you admit it to yourself, you notice the shift, the silence, the subtle withdrawal. Not loud, not dramatic, just different. And that's when you start asking, am I imagining this? Did I do something wrong? Why do I feel them slipping? But you're not imagining it. Your nervous system is alerting you before your mind understands it, because the body recognizes emotional danger long before the heart accepts it. And that's where your clarity begins. Because people don't usually hurt you all at once. They hurt you in tiny, quiet ways so small you almost talk yourself out of noticing. But today, we're naming them. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. So let's go deeper. They stop being present long before they stop being around. They're physically next to you, but emotionally, 10 blocks away. Their eyes don't light up anymore. When you talk, their voice doesn't soften. When they say your name, their responses become shorter, colder, emptier, like you're pulling teeth just to get a sentence out of them. And suddenly, you feel like you're auditioning for a role you already earned. They make you compete for attention they used to give freely. And that's the first sign. When love becomes labor, when you're the only one trying to keep the connection alive, you're not in a relationship, you're in a rescue mission. The second behavior is even quieter. They stop asking how you are, not because they're distracted, not because they're busy, but because they've shifted the emotional responsibility onto you. You become the listener, the healer, the comforter, the solution, and they become unreachable. When someone cares, they ask small questions. How was your day? Did you eat? Did you make it home okay? You good? These questions seem simple, but they're emotional fingerprints. People who care leave traces. People who don't leave nothing. So when the check-ins stop, your value in their eyes has already dropped. And the worst part? You try to compensate for it. You give more, explain more, try harder, show up stronger. But you can't fix what you didn't break. The next behavior is subtle but dangerous. They start making you feel like your needs are too much. You ask for clarity. They say you're overthinking. You ask for respect. They say you're nagging. You ask for communication. They say you're too emotional. Suddenly, every healthy need you express is treated like a flaw, and you begin to shrink. You begin to silence yourself to preserve the connection. You begin to adjust to their inconsistency like it's normal. But listen, if someone makes you feel guilty for needing basic emotional presence, you're not asking for too much. You're asking the wrong person, because the right person won't punish you for having a heart. They won't weaponize your honesty. They won't shame you for wanting to feel safe. Love doesn't silence you, it softens you. Another behavior that tells you it's time to walk away. They only show up when they need something. They disappear when you're hurting, but expect you to be available when they're lonely. They give you breadcrumbs of affection, just enough to keep you from leaving, never enough to make you feel secure. And every time you try to walk away, they suddenly become warm again, not because they love you, but because they love the benefits of you, your patience, your loyalty, your energy, your emotional labor. You're not being loved, you're being used. And deep down, you know it. Because the person who truly wants you doesn't give you mixed signals, they give you consistency. And then there's the behavior that hurts the most. They stop noticing your pain. You could be breaking inside, and they wouldn't catch it. Your tone changes. Your silence grows. Your smile fades. But nothing in them responds. No concern. No shift. No effort. A person who cares feels your sadness, even when you hide it. A person who doesn't won't see it, even when you're crying in front of them. And that is the moment you need to hear. Love is felt. Love is noticed. Love is responsive. Love is present. If your pain doesn't move them, they aren't your person. Another sign. They make you fight for reassurance. They never give. You keep trying to get clarity, not to control, not to pressure, but because you're emotionally starving. Your heart wants direction. Your mind wants peace. But they give you confusion, ambiguity, half answers, vague words, designed to keep you hoping, but never healing. Confusion is not love. Mixed signals are not love. Silence is not love. Bare minimum is not love. Someone who loves you doesn't play hide and seek with their intentions. The next behavior is painful but eye-opening. They stop choosing you in small ways. They choose their comfort over your connection, their ego over communication, their pride over accountability, their convenience over effort. And that pattern tells you everything. People reveal their priorities, not through their words, but through their choices. And their choices are showing you where you stand. You just haven't wanted to admit it. Another behavior. You start apologizing for things you didn't do. You say sorry for asking questions. Sorry for needing a moment. Sorry for wanting reassurance. Sorry for expressing discomfort. Sorry for being human. When the relationship makes you feel like a burden, it's the relationship that's broken, not you. Healthy love doesn't require you to abandon yourself. And here's one most people ignore. You don't feel safe being your full self. You censor your feelings to avoid conflict. You hide your excitement to avoid being mocked. You shrink your dreams to avoid being dismissed. You dim your light to avoid threatening their insecurity. Any situation that forces you to become less isn't love. It's emotional imprisonment. The right person won't be scared of your depth, your power, your truth, or your softness. They will lean into it. They will honor it. They will match it. And finally, the last behavior that screams, it's time to walk away. You don't recognize yourself anymore. Your boundaries blurred. Your joy dimmed. Your confidence cracked. Your peace disrupted. Your inner voice barely audible. When a relationship costs you, it's too expensive. Love is supposed to expand you, not erase you. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can say is, I love you, but I love myself too. Walking away is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's self-respect. It's healing. It's choosing peace over pain, clarity over chaos, self-worth over loneliness. And you deserve that, more than you know. You don't leave because you're weak. You leave because your soul is tired. Tired of explaining. Tired of repeating yourself. Tired of carrying the emotional weight alone. Tired of pretending things will magically fix themselves. There comes a moment in every person's life when staying becomes more painful than walking away. That moment is your turning point, your awakening, your breakthrough disguised as heartbreak. And what most people never understand is this: walking away isn't abandoning them, it's returning to yourself. Because there's a version of you that existed before the disappointment, before the chaos, before the emotional drain. And that version of you is still waiting to be reclaimed. You didn't lose yourself overnight. You lost yourself slowly, piece by piece, compromise by compromise, apology by apology, forgiveness after forgiveness that they never earned. And even though you tried, God knows you tried, the relationship became a place where your love wasn't seen, your effort wasn't felt, and your presence wasn't cherished. But here's the truth: nobody wants to say out loud. Some people don't change until losing you forces them to. Some people won't appreciate the warmth until your silence becomes colder than anything they expected. Some people won't value your heart until they feel what life is like without it holding their chaos together. You weren't asking for the impossible. You weren't asking for perfection. You weren't asking for constant praise. You were asking for effort, for reciprocity, for emotional maturity, for basic respect, for a love that doesn't drain you. But they were too busy taking, too busy assuming you'd always stay, too comfortable thinking you'd never reach your breaking point. They forgot something critical. Even the strongest hearts have limits. Even the most loyal souls can outgrow someone who keeps wounding them. And sometimes the biggest sign that it's time to walk away isn't the shouting, the arguments, or the dramatic endings. Sometimes the sign is the quiet, the numbness, the emotional exhaustion that settles so deeply you can't ignore it anymore. That's when you realize this connection isn't growing you. It's shrinking you. It's dimming you. It's costing you parts of yourself you can't afford to lose. And walking away isn't you giving up. It's you refusing to self-destruct in the name of love. It's you choosing peace over chaos, self-respect over attachment, healing over hoping they'll change. Because you deserve the kind of love that doesn't break you down just to feel needed. You deserve the kind of love that doesn't confuse you, drain you, or make you question your worth. You deserve the kind of love that chooses you fully, consistently, and without excuses. And yes, it hurts to walk away. It hurts to let go. It hurts to accept that you can't fix what someone else refuses to heal. But do you know what hurts more? Staying where your heart is slowly dying. You're not meant to be half loved. You're not meant to be tolerated. You're not meant to live in emotional survival mode, hoping for the bare minimum. When it's time to walk away, your soul knows. It whispers, then nudges, then pushes, and finally, when you can't ignore it anymore, it leads you toward freedom. And that freedom won't feel good immediately. It will feel lonely. It will feel strange. It will feel like starting over, with shaky hands. But over time, you'll breathe again. You'll smile again. You'll trust again. You'll recognize yourself again. And one day, you'll look back and say, leaving wasn't the hardest thing. Staying was. Because real love doesn't demand your pain as proof of your loyalty. Real love elevates you, protects you, nourishes you, expands you. Anything that consistently breaks you down is not love, and it's not your future. Walking away doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you finally started caring about yourself. When you've given and given and given, and the relationship still feels like a slow bleed, there comes a moment when your soul whispers something you didn't want to hear. A moment when the truth you've been avoiding finally steps forward and stands in front of you. A moment when the pain stops being noise and becomes clarity. A moment when you realize you're no longer fighting for the relationship. You're fighting against yourself to stay in it. And that's the moment you're here for. Because these behaviors, the ones they hope you're too tired to notice, too loving to question, too loyal to confront, are the ones that tell you your heart deserves better. And even if walking away feels like tearing a part of your chest open, staying would slowly destroy the rest of you. So let's talk. Let's go all the way in. Let's name what your heart has already felt. Because when patterns become pain, when love becomes labor, when connection becomes confusion, that's when you know. That's when it's time. The first behavior, when they drain you more than they give you. You don't realize it at first, because love makes you generous. But eventually you notice. You're the one doing the emotional heavy lifting. You're the one initiating every conversation. You're the one holding the relationship together with reassurance, patience, softness. Meanwhile, they just take or give you the bare minimum and expect a standing ovation. If every interaction leaves you feeling smaller, emptier, or more anxious, you're not in a relationship. You're in emotional debt, and debt will always come for its payment. Sometimes, that payment is your peace. The second behavior, when they make you feel guilty for having needs. A person who loves you doesn't fear your needs. They meet them. A person who only loves themselves gets irritated when your needs become inconvenient. So when you say, I feel disconnected, I need clarity, I want consistency, and they respond with, you're too emotional, you're overthinking, you're ruining everything. That's not love. That's manipulation. And you deserve to be with someone who understands that your needs aren't demands, they're doorways to deeper connection. The third behavior, when you feel lonelier with them than without them. This one hurts because loneliness beside someone cuts deeper than loneliness on your own. When you sit next to them and feel unseen, when you try to open your heart and feel unheard, when you share your fears and feel dismissed, that's your soul speaking loudly, clearly. And the message? Loneliness shouldn't exist. Inside love, the fourth behavior, when they make you question your worth. Love should build you, not break you. But when every argument ends with you apologizing, when you're always the one blamed, when they twist your words and rewrite the story so that you always look wrong, that's not conflict. That's erosion. Real love challenges you, but it never shames you. Real love grows you, but it never shrinks your spirit. Real love corrects you, but it never destroys your confidence. If you've started doubting your value, it's because someone has been benefiting from you forgetting it. The fifth behavior: when you feel like you're fighting alone, a relationship ends the moment one person stops trying, long before either of you walk away. And when you're carrying the connection by yourself, when you're the only one nurturing it, when you're the only one investing, hoping, fixing, repairing, you're not in a partnership. You're maintaining a structure someone else abandoned while still living in it. And that is emotional self-destruction. The sixth behavior: when you've outgrown who you had to be to stay in the relationship. Sometimes you don't walk away because they're bad. You walk away because you had to shrink to love them, had to silence yourself to keep the peace, had to make yourself small to fit inside their comfort. But here's the truth: your spirit is trying to tell you, if you can only be loved while being less than yourself, you're not loved, you're tolerated. And you weren't born to be tolerated. You were born to be met, matched, chosen, seen. The final sign, when keeping them, requires losing you. This is the loudest one, the clearest one, the most painful one. When staying means betraying your worth, your boundaries, your peace, your future, that's when you know. That's when you walk. Not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring about yourself. Walking away isn't giving up. Walking away is giving yourself back to yourself. And one day, you'll look back, grateful that you finally listened to the version of you who refused to die inside a love that couldn't hold you. If this message felt like it was speaking directly to your heart, it's because you already know the truth. You already know what you deserve. You already know what staying has cost you. You already know what walking away would finally return to you. So listen to yourself. And if you want more videos that help you heal, grow, and choose yourself again, you know where to find me. I'm right here with you.